All right, so welcome back. Yes, we had a bit of a hiatus between the first 4 episodes and these new episodes, but we're back with VHS Corner here on the After Movie Diner YouTube channel, and I hope you're having fun. Don't forget, if you're watching this, subscribe, like, share, comment, do all the cool things. I don't know. I like movies and I do stuff online, but I'm not one of these YouTubers that are like, yeah, I've got all the lingo and all the graphics. I don't know what that is. So, we're coming back with yet another Jeff Wincott movie. It is The Donor. It comes out in 1995. It's directed by Damian Lee, who some might know from Ski School or Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe. And also, quite confusingly, considering this is a Jeff Wincott movie, he also directs 1987's Last Man Standing. Not the Last Man Standing that Jeff Wincott does for PM Entertainment, but another straight-to-VHS movie called Last Man Standing that stars Vernon Wells, of all people. So that's kind of confusing. But anyway, it's written by Neil and Tippy Dabrowski. I'm going to assume that they are partners, or possibly brother and sister. I didn't bother to look it up. And what's weird about Neil Dabrowski, who wrote this, is that he wouldn't write another thing for 6 years, and the thing that he writes 6 years later is also called The Donor. So go figure. But Neil and Tippy Dabrowski, they have gone on to write all those Hallmark and Lifetime movies that you love. They've written a lot of Christmas movies, and so many of you love to take the piss out of, ironically, on Instagram, being like, this is what it looks like in a Hallmark Christmas movie. Even SNL did it. I don't know why. You know, Hallmark Christmas movies have been a thing since 1951, and they've been producing at least 30 Christmas movies a year for, I don't know, the last couple of decades. Yet this last year, the amount of content I got served up of fucking hipster cunts on the internet being like, well, here's an example of what a Hallmark Christmas movie looks like. You know, blah, 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 blah. It's a woman from the big city and a man from the small town. We all know. We all know. Neil and Tippy Dabrowski write The Donor. Damian Lee directs it, and it stars Jeff Wincott, the Canadian shit kicker. So this comes at the end of his sort of action run. He would go on and be in the two made-for-TV Universal Soldier. They're not really sequels. They're kind of like made-for-TV movies in the world of Universal Soldier. He would go on to do those, and he does one called Bullet Hits the Bone, which I haven't seen, which I presume is a bit of an action movie. But in general, this is where Wincott is easing out of his Open Fire, Killing Machine, Last Man Standing, Deadly Bet, his PM Entertainment and straight-to-video action era, and trying to branch out. And I didn't realize this. When you read the back of it, it sort of reads like an early straight-to-video version of Jason Statham's movie Crank. I'm going to read you the back. Billy Castle is a stuntman, all right? Right there, you're thinking, oh, great, this is going to be action galore. It's Jeff Wincott, he's awesome, very intense, great fighting style, great PM Entertainment movies. He's a stuntman. Billy Castle is a stuntman, great. He lives for excitement and danger. Oh, I'm in, I can't wait. But he could also die for it. Imagine the horror of waking up and finding you have been seduced, violated, and robbed. Somehow, Billy's become a crop, and he's being harvested. A movie with that description, believe it or not, this is more a kind of tedious, not really erotic, semi-erotic thriller. So I was expecting like a 90s PM Entertainment style action movie, and what I ended up with was a really not very interesting, not very exciting, not even particularly thrilling erotic thriller, and certainly not that erotic. I mean erotic because in order to get his organ harvested, he is seduced by a woman, and they have a one-night stand. He wakes up next morning all groggy and blah, 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 blah. Well, and then later on in the movie, he befriends another woman, and you know, they have relations. It's Canadian, but doesn't want to be like Canadian. I like if movies are going to be Canadian, be Canadian. But this is just a movie made in Canada with Canadian people. It's basically a drama. A guy wakes up after a one-night stand with his kidney missing and spends the rest of the film tediously trying to find out who did it. Along the way, there are people that he meets, doctors, police, all the rest of it. who are either red herrings, so obvious red herrings that you're like, well, all right, I know what the end of this movie is now, or that they do things like police chiefs that kind of go, you're crazy, you should just get on with your life, like it does, none of this matters. Guy was like sedated against his will and had an organ removed against his will, and the police are just like, we're doing all we can. Really, what have you done? Not really anything.
You've been in here, what, 2-3 times already this week?
I wouldn't be here at all if you do your job.
I do what I can, Mr. Castle. The police up north are doing what they can. As for you, you were admitted to the hospital for anxiety attacks recently, am I correct? You lost your job after losing it behind the wheel.
I didn't lose my job. I'm on leave.
Then there's your arrest. Vandalism. To a car. Again with the cars. What, you got a problem with cars, Mr. Castle?
No, I don't have a problem with cars. I got a problem being on someone's hit list, though.
And then Jeff Wincott spends the movie essentially being our kind of de facto detective, trying to figure out how, but it's not one of those things where if the detective story was like the driving force of it, and it was sort of, the pace was kept up, and you know, each new clue led to a new thing, and it was sort of mysterious, and it was like, well, is it this guy, is it this woman, is it that person, what, you know, then you know, you could forgive it not being very action orientated or not even being very thrilling or erotic. You could just be like, all right, it's telling a good detective story. But it's not. It's someone who goes, well, in detective stories, detectives like go around and find clues, right? And it's sort of like this. They go, oh, you know, there was a blood test done days before. And he goes, all right, well, let's go to the lab and did the blood test. Oh, well, the lab also did a blood test on this other person. Fine, I'll go talk to this other person. You know, and it's all like none of it leads anywhere or amounts to anything. It just sort of goes on and on and on and on. The other interesting point, though, about the movie is that halfway through, he sort of befriended these two doctors. The female one, he's of course all like, ooh, female doctor, ooh. And they're all like sleazing over each other. The male doctor, who sort of befriends him, and they're both massive red herrings, because you're like, well, doctors and transplants and all that. The male doctor in this is called and announces himself as Jonathan Cross, which is my name.
She got it. She's got it. Oh, that feels so much better.
Mr. Castle, I'm Jonathan Cross, head resident here. I heard about your unscheduled surgery. I can't pretend to know how you're feeling, but it's got to be like hell. You are in good hands, you know, Dr. Flynn.
Cold hands, you mean?
You've gotten to know each other, I see.
Hey, Doc, we're almost done in here. I'm freezing my buns off.
You're healthy as a horse, Tom. I'll call you in the lab, send some reports, all right? Cool.
But in general, yeah, I wouldn't bother with this. The tricky thing is with most of these VHS corners, what I like to do is kind of give it a rating as a movie and then say whether I'll keep or sell. The difficulty here with this is I'm a big Jeff Wincott fan, and I have a ton of Jeff Wincott on VHS. So part of me wants to keep it. I can really only give it like 1.5 out of 5. I really can. I think there's like one car chase in it and maybe a little bit of running. If I keep it at all, it'll only be because it's Jeff Wincott and it's part of a collection. You know, I have Donald Pleasance movies that, you know, overall are only kind of 1 or 2 out of 5. I have Wings Hauser movies that are only kind of 1 or 2 out of 5. These tend to be the people that I like collecting. And just because I have so many other Wincott movies, I will probably keep this. But it's not really worth whatever the cost would be if you were to purchase this on eBay or at a store. So disappointing to review that one and not be super thrilled by it, but sometimes that happens. That's why we love VHS. Sometimes it's a winner, sometimes it's a loser, but it's always interesting, it's always weird, and it's always wonderful. So thank you for watching, and look out for episode 6. As I say, subscribe, like, all that good shit.